DDG episode 248. My name is Dave, and I'm joined by Michael.
Dave, there are video games that are coming out, and it is exciting. Game Shadow dropped today. There's a big game coming out Friday, and then I got an email saying like, "Hey, play this mystery game this weekend," which I can't say because I think it's NDA'd to hell, which is
I thought they
that
lifted
thing
that.
we talked about last week.
Yeah, I thought they lifted that. So
did they lift it? Because
I
that
think
man,
they
when
did.
they had me,
Yeah, I didn't get it. So
yeah.
I didn't get it. So since I haven't gotten anything, I can say it. So you're talking about Marathon. As he shrugs at me.
Shoulder shrug. Yeah, maybe. All I'm saying is like it was one of those things where you're like agreeing to terms and you're like, you will not share any of this.
Live as of tomorrow.
I think so, the 23rd.
Yeah. So
if they lift the NDA, I can have a lot of things to talk about next week. If they don't, I didn't do anything this weekend.
Yeah.
We'll see. My favorite part is anytime they do these NDAs and it's like you cannot do this, you do this. After the first day, a medium to big size streamer will break the NDA, and then they're like, well, screw it. Everyone can now share clips and share their opinions about it. Yep. So I'm sure whatever NDA there is will not last that long. But I won't be the one that breaks it.
Yeah.
Damn it.
We got standards.
We got standards. As soon as someone else breaks it, I'm going to Twitter to be say everything's mid. And it's gonna.
All right, so we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that posts every Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern Time on podcast services. We live stream the show typically Tuesday evenings on YouTube and Twitch. You can link all that stuff in the show notes and check it out. Our Discord is there. Our social medias are there. Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook group, all that fun stuff is in the show notes. You can subscribe to us on Twitch if you choose. That's a paid subscription, or you can link Twitch and Amazon Prime and get Prime Gaming, and you can subscribe to a streamer of your choice. That does not auto-renew that subscription. If your paid one will auto-renew, but your Twitch subscription or your Prime subscription will not auto-renew, so you check that out. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. That is free. You can watch the show on YouTube by looking back on the on-demand videos or the VOD videos, as well as you can, air quote, watch our show on YouTube with a still image through our RSS channel feed that is linked to our YouTube. So there are multiple ways for you to consume our podcast, and it's all linked in the show notes. Please consider leaving a review or just sharing the show with a friend to get more people exposed to our podcast that we try to do every week. With that being said, we're going to jump into the news.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the worst kept secret in gaming, which is Oblivion. We talked about this, I think, twice before, including last week. Microsoft, Bethesda, and Virtuos Gaming did, in fact, reveal Oblivion Remastered, and Shadow dropped it. It is out now on PS5, Xbox, and PC for $50, or I think $60. And it is a Game Pass game, of course. So this is a fully rebuilt from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5. Remaster feels like it's not giving it enough justice. Like, it is a full remake. They have kind of mashed together some of the combat from Skyrim, so Elder Scrolls 5. This is Oblivion, which is 4. Just to kind of get people used to it, just because you imagine this was an early, PS3 era game, 360 era game, so a lot of things changed by the time they got the Skyrim. Skyrim's also been remastered several different times, so they wanted to make sure the gameplay kind of stayed true a little bit to Skyrim, so they made the gameplay just kind of like a best of both worlds kind of thing. This looked good. It was a 19-minute like deep dive, talking with Bethesda, talking with Virtuos games, and just kind of showing everyone the different things. They included new dialogue in it, but they didn't cut some of the bad dialogue or some of the other issues that are I think they put quirky as their descriptor for some of their dialogue. So this definitely seems like it's pretty good. Sarah already bought it. Like, soon as the trailer dropped, I was like, oh, do you want to, I can get it on Game Pass. She's like, I already bought it on PlayStation. I want to play it on PlayStation. So yeah, I saw the opening. I'll probably mess around with it sometime later today or tomorrow. But Dave, Shadow dropped. Like, Microsoft does have this in their back pocket when they want to do it, and they've done it before.
Uh,
This is probably the biggest one now.
yeah, I mean, my thought was like this would be kind of weird to do that this week. I think when I said 2 weeks ago or last week, like what there's not really a lot of following or pomp and circumstance more than I expected. I was pretty engrossed in work today, but enough that I knew that they had an event, and like what everybody thought it was, and like the little teaser they had with the Roman numeral 4 showing. So I think everybody kind of knew what was coming.
Mhm.
I guess I am slightly surprised that it is an actual shadow drop. I love the fact that it's on Game Pass. I think obviously it's a Microsoft studio now, and I'm just curious. I guess your thoughts on it. Do you think that prior to the acquisition, if this came out, would this have come out prior to the acquisition? Is this something that Microsoft's like, oh, you're that far along? Okay, let's finish it.
No, so this is in the court documents along with Fallout 3 and Dishonored as
Okay,
full remasters. So
okay,
this was being worked on pretty heavily before the acquisition, apparently,
which is a
especially
long
because they built
time.
it from the ground up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, but
Um,
yes, all the changes they made to it. But we're talking. I feel like what 2022 when this.
yeah, 2022, 2023 is when the court documents
Yeah.
came out, I think. 2023. No, well, I think this was always going to happen, but I think because Microsoft owns them, it changed on how they were going to release. This would have been a Bethesda tentpole for the holidays, and now because they're owned by Microsoft, it's like let's just do a shadow drop. Let's just, for whatever reason, I feel bad for like I don't think they have a vendetta, but for some reason it feels like they have a vendetta against like Expedition 33, which comes out
Yeah.
Friday, and this is just going to take a lot of the headspace away from that game that people are hyped on. Not full apples to apples scenario, but it is a big RPG people are excited about. But I think Microsoft wants to flex that they can do these shadow drops, and
Yeah.
also they probably don't. If they made it a holiday release, they would probably be like, we need to market this very strongly and put money behind marketing. If they shadow drop it, there is no
Yeah.
marketing that they really have to put behind it to really,
Yeah.
and
I think.
it blew up.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like this is kind of like what we've been talking about of like the cadence that Game Pass needs. Like this is just another feather. Like to your point, like Expedition 33, I believe is coming to Game Pass. This is on Game
Yes.
Pass. We're like I think 3 weeks from Doom, 3 or 4 weeks from Doom.
Yeah.
Um, like the even for Bethesda and for Microsoft, like it was so weird last week to see all of the Indiana Jones marketing and all of it being PlayStation centric, and knowing that all of them, most of that revenue is going to Xbox. Like it's such a
Yeah.
weird dynamic and world that we're living in right now of how these things are working. Like I would love to see the papers, the contracts, the publishing contracts on Indiana Jones. Just because like to see Sony like blatantly like tweeting about it regularly, blog post about it, and it being enhanced for
sequel
PS
talk this
Pro.
week.
Yeah, like all that stuff, and we already knew it was going to sell better on the platform that has more tangible hardware, more hardware units in the wild. Like we knew that, but this isn't a haha. Look, Sony got them. This is Microsoft going, okay, cool, thank you, appreciate it.
It's
Thanks for
still
the assist.
Microsoft being like, okay, things didn't work out exactly like we wanted, but it's still going to work out in our favor in the
Yeah.
end.
This is the epitome of like having their cake and eating it too. So either they got somebody
Yeah.
to buy Indiana Jones on Xbox and got a better revenue cut of it, a high revenue cut of it. They got a Game Pass subscriber, or they got them on a PlayStation and Steam and got the 70-30 split or whatever, however it goes. So like all of those 4 or 5 potential arms scenarios benefit Microsoft.
Yeah, the only thing Microsoft has to worry about, or Xbox has to worry about, if Microsoft is like, well, you promised us this much, and now we're doing a decent amount, but we're not doing the crazy numbers we wanted Game Pass to do.
Right.
Like Microsoft funded a lot of things for
Yeah.
Xbox in terms of like Phil Spencer's grand plan for Game Pass, and now it's pivoted to like game sales, which that might not work out in the long big picture thing for Microsoft.
But I think if Game Pass was potentially bleeding, and I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of doesn't make money, that's not my
Yeah.
problem anymore. But if it was bleeding or losing subscribers, I think we would see a tangible change to how Game Pass functions, or we would see potentially games not coming to it. Like they would have
Well,
to come
we've
out.
seen like 2 makeovers for Game Pass already in terms of like how the tiers work and stuff like that. And so-
Correct. Yeah, but I think that's more. I don't think that's because it's bleeding. I think that's because it was starting to there's a difference between, I think, bleeding and losing subscribers. You know, the ebb and flow, the flow got a little bit too low versus like, holy shit, like this is bad. We have to like restructure this whole thing, or we have to somehow market speak our walk back something and not bring it on Game Pass day one.
But I would say like the tiers and releasing on PlayStation is like just using a tourniquet.
I agree.
On some wounds, you know, like the wound is still there. They still need to figure out how to fix the wound, but they at least bought themselves probably a significant amount of time.
Yeah, but we're also
because now they can point to a chart and be like, "Hey, year over year game revenue is up this much because PlayStation."
But we're also not seeing the big third party like, oh, that's coming to Game Pass title. Wow, like that hasn't happened in a couple months.
But to be fair, those
they acquired all
big third party games, those don't exist really anymore. You know, that's why they got Obscure 33 or Expedition 33, and they got Ninja Gaiden.
What's the other one that people are talking about? The like the story
Blueprints,
stuff?
But that's on PlayStation Plus.
Okay, it's on Game Pass as well. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, they're getting those games because like the big third party stuff just kind of doesn't exist anymore. Like it's weird. A couple years ago, we're talking about like the death of AA games, and now it's like no, AAA games don't exist, and AA games are starting to like.
Yeah, we're not. But I guess my point is we're not seeing. And to your point, I'm just piggybacking on what you're saying about like the lack of third party titles. We're not seeing the Outrider style thing come to Game Pass. The day and date of a non-Microsoft owned game coming there.
I'm they the last couple months, Dave. They've definitely have increased that again with the Ninja Gaiden, the Expedition 33. And then there was like 2 or 3 other kind of big games.
But like, wouldn't you call those most of that stuff like in your terms of like AA?
But that's what I'm saying.
But like Outriders was supposed to be a AAA.
But that was the most AAA game you can imagine. That just was a AA game that actually had some potential.
It's interesting because they've kind of stepped off the they took their foot off the gas with MLB The Show. Whether whether that worked in their favor long term, and they've got Xbox people in the ecosystem of MLB The Show, we'll never know. But I don't know if they track concurrent players. I didn't even get the show this year. But that
could have been one of those ones where they realized the show people are only playing the show and they're not sticky for other games. And then at their point, they're like, no, we want people that are going to stick.
Or
from one game
if you're only playing the show, then go spend the $70 and we'll take that. We'll take that 30% revenue versus you subscribing to Game Pass and we get no real data from you because you only play the show.
Yeah. And someone who plays Indiana Jones might be like, you know what? Let me play Dishonored. Let me play this. Let me play that. As opposed to MLB The Show, who it's just like, I'm just going to play the show.
Because for me, like there's plenty of stuff that I need to like, and to be fair, I haven't really turned my PlayStation on in like 10 days either, nor my Xbox. I do a little bit on my PC, but like I need to and I want to play South of Midnight.
It's on my list.
The first step is I need to download it. And then that Blueprints game, is that what it's called? Blueprints?
Yes.
That looks very interesting. I have a couple friends that are playing that. I'm hearing a lot of chatter on that. And then Doom, Doom looks, like my first person niche, and I, love to try to get into a Doom game, for the first time in a long, long time. So at least for me is that the Game Pass and the upgrade to PS Plus with the VR stuff that I'm not doing as much as I should be either, is just kind of like a set it and forget it. Like I don't think about my Game Pass subscription. I don't think about my PS Plus subscription. Just like I don't think about my Netflix, my Paramount Plus, my HBO Max, etc., etc., etc. I realize I don't have something when something exists that I either want to get or I want to watch. Like I saw all this chatter about Blueprints, and then I started looking into it. I'm like, oh, it's on Game Pass. I didn't even know it was on Plus because I just saw it was on Game Pass. I probably, to be honest with you, like, and now that knowing it's on Plus, I'll go download it on Plus and probably play it just because I prefer to play on my PlayStation. So, or
that's why we picked up Oblivion. We spent the $50 on Oblivion just because it's like, we want to play it on PlayStation.
Right.
But you're talking about Plus, which you would then probably up your Plus tier because you probably just have Essentials still.
No, I got the bigger one when I got the VR.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no. And also Oblivion's $50. It's not $60. I think I said $60 earlier.
Yeah,
it is $50. But
So
yeah,
yeah,
we'll move on.
it's cool. Like it's great. It's more. I like to see more consistency. I like more consistent releases out of Bethesda. I felt like, at least from my perspective of what I would almost call almost a non-Bethesda player, or a super casual Bethesda player, and compared to you, which would, you or your lane of friends would probably be a little bit more 50-50. Like it's either you play it or you don't play it. Bethesda game. Like, I don't know how much tangible desire you have for Doom, versus a Skyrim
Well,
or an Oblivion,
yeah,
or like that type of. They're different studios. I know that, but
yeah,
um,
that's it. But yeah,
yeah. So
uh,
it's just interesting to see what I perceive from the outside, at least, to be a potentially a more consistent Bethesda, which I'm a little bit surprised about.
yeah. Well, but to be fair, Bethesda didn't even develop this. Like, so they're still like
Right.
working on whatever the fuck they're working on, which we assume is Elder Scrolls 6. But we don't know. Which is probably, it's actually just another Fallout game because the TV show is doing so well. But yeah, no, like, at least we're getting Bethesda's name out there, a little
Yeah.
bit more, and they're
Whether they
kinda staying in the-
developed it or didn't develop it, it is a Bethesda game.
Yeah, it is a game from Bethesda. It's a franchise
Yeah.
from Bethesda, and it also just shows like the passion people have. There were people that were talking about crying, watching that trailer, because that is a game that like they grew up playing. I saw so many people like tweeting out like, "Oh, played the first Oblivion when I was 12, and now I'm like 30 something years old now, and I'm playing Oblivion again." So there's a lot of people that are like super excited to play Oblivion. I do think they fucked up. I think they should have released $10 horse armor DLC just for the laughs. Like, include the original DLC that like was sold 10 years ago or whatever, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
but have a joke $10 horse armor DLC just to see if people would buy it, and I guarantee people would have just bought it for the laughs. But yeah, that is Oblivion. I'll probably mess around with that this weekend, though there's a bunch of other games that I'm hoping to jump into. This next one is just, I like dollar stuff and franchise stuff. I like the business side of gaming. Devolver Digital basically released franchise sales figures. So they did like an investor report as they're trying to like raise more funds. I think they're like publicly traded now in like the European stock market or something. And they basically told investors like, "Hey, we learned a ton of things, and we're going to try and develop stuff more first party and also using established IPs." But they did release like their top 10 revenue earners for the franchises they have. Some notable things on here is their number one franchise is Cult of Lamb, with just one video game release in that franchise. And it has made lifetime revenue $90 million. And it is a third-party game, technically.
Yeah, and I feel like it's always on sale, so the revenue number's even more impressive.
Yeah. But it's one of those games where I knew it was popular, but as someone who just went to like C2E2, like a week ago, there was a lot of Cult of Lamb cosplaying going on. And I was just kind of like, oh, this game's bigger than I thought it was. Also on there, Astroneer, which is a first-party Devolver Digital game, has made over $80 million across one game. Other stuff on here is Serious Sam across 11 games has made $45 million. Gungeon, which has 2 games, has made $40 million. Hotline Miami across 2 games has made $30 million. You'll see on this list that they put out, there's a lot of third-party stuff, but majority of it's first-party. But what they took from all of that data, which I find ironic, is we need to use established IPs more. When you look at this, a lot of these are new IPs that they created or helped,
So are these now established?
These are now established. I would have loved to see the data of like when you look at like Hotline Miami 2, 1 versus 2.
Yeah.
Like
did
data.
1 sell 40 million and 2 sell 5 million?
Yeah, or because they're saying established IPs, does that mean 2 outsold 1 significantly, and that's where they're getting we want to do established IPs? Because when Cult of Lamb and Astroneer are your top 2, and they only have 1 game in a series, that means you should invest in first party, or you should invest in new IP, if you ask me, as opposed to established IP. So that's just like some data that they're sharing. Basically, across the 10 franchises that they put, there's 37 games released, and they've made $430 million in revenue. One thing you have to remember, because you'll be like, oh, development costs cost a lot, but these are all indie games that they incubate, so the development costs are probably significantly low compared to some of the other projects you might be
Or
comparing it
for
to.
the most part, the game is already so far in development that really all they're doing is paying the developer to finish the game, and then they publish it, and then they start doing a revenue split, which is probably heavily in favor of Devolver Digital, but still it's still helping the team of a dozen to 15 on average. Like that conversation is different of like, hey, you have a team of 12 to 15 people. Cool. Here's X amount of dollars divvied amongst 12 or 15 people is way easier than it's like, oh, I have a team of 300.
Yeah. And then also when you look at it in terms of how Devolver does stuff is like when they sign a deal for these companies, it's just like, okay, we're going to give you a check. And also then you're going to use our QA team and you're going to like be cert, you're going to go through the cert process through us. So like the costs aren't too crazy, and the reason devs want to do this deal is because sometimes they need that little push to the finish line. I've talked to so many independent developers that are like fully independent, and it's really hard for them to get across that finish line, which is why you would sign a deal with like a Devolver and a Perna or one of these companies. A couple more things on their bullet points from this. So they said they want to do more DLC. Because Cult of the Lamb, Astroneer did really well for them DLC wise. This is one thing I found interesting is they want more definitive editions of games, which is the Ubisoft model of like, hey, release the gold edition, release like 3 or 4.
I don't know if I read it like that, as in like more like in a year you'll see a Cult of the Lamb definitive edition, like Game of the Year style edition.
Potentially, but I could also see it meaning like the Ubisoft thing where Ubisoft has like 3 or 4 different SKUs when the game comes out.
Yeah, no, I follow you, but I just don't know if these these size of games support that nature.
Well, it could go either way.
Yeah, like because I don't think when Cult of the Lamb was made that they thought they were thinking about DLC. I think based on the success of it, they then looked at a DLC. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, either way, like I could see them doing Game of the Year stuff, DLC, but I also could think of them selling like the season pass for the DLC with a package as a definitive edition to guarantee that you're going to get that DLC.
I think that changes the development outlook of a game, though, versus them finding the gems that they've been able to find. But that's neither here nor there, I guess.
Yeah. Other things is they want to reduce the average investment on third-party games. Which is a little worrisome because that's how they make a lot of their bread and butter. They want to subsidize, unfortunately, which would be reducing team sizes by approximately 50%. That's scary. That's like the ugly part of the business. They're always looking at reducing numbers. And then they want to basically go hard into the Switch 2 because the Nintendo Switch was their most successful console for unit sales. So it sounds like they are like doubling down and backing Nintendo when it comes to the Switch 2 because the Switch was just so good for them revenue-wise.
I read those last 3 or 4 bullet points as potentially them finding studios to purchase under the Devolver. Like I think that they might be getting to that point where they Cult of the Lamb was first party or no?
It says on the article, third party. Cult of the Lamb was third party.
That would, if I were them right now, that would be my first developer that I would look to acquire or sign a like exclusive partnership with. I guess at that point, to then be able to quote like to use their words to right size their development.
Yeah, because right now no one really thinks of Devolver as being like a proper first party type of studio. So,
but this goes back
they
to
would
what
need to make those acquisitions.
Yeah, but this goes back to what you were just saying with when we were talking about the Oblivion stuff and the Bethesda things and like who's developing it, who's like Microsoft can't find any bigger third parties to sign these deals for. So now does Devolver Digital become the quote, and I'm just using a basic term here, the quote unquote Microsoft of indies?
And that would probably be the direction that they would want to go. Yeah. Just like, hey, let's acquire them. We'll subsidize what we have to once we own them. And, do whatever cuts they want to do. But
to your
like
point, you don't need a QA department anymore if you are owned by Devolver Digital, who has their own QA department. You don't need an HR department anymore for this if you're owned by Devolver, who has their own HR department.
Yeah, Devolver even had their own like printing publisher thing, Special Reserve for a little bit. So like Devolver has a bunch of tools and assets that you can use. But yeah, that's just I like financial stuff, and I think it's just cool to kind of see how Devolver makes their money and what actually is working for them. Especially when they're talking about like revenue, they're not talking about like, hey, this game made this much. They're like, no, this is revenue. This is like actual like profit made from these games, which is just kind of wild when you look at some of these titles. All right, Dave, your job right now from this next story is to convince me not to pre-order the goddamn Nintendo Switch 2.
Oh, I can't because I'm going to be all over my phone and my desktop and my computer on Thursday myself. I'm actually off work that day, so.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. All right. So the Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders open April 24th in the U.S. Nintendo announced that the pre-orders are opening Thursday across different realtors. Already some stores have said like, hey, midnight that day we will open up the website. I think GameStop and like one other store saying like you have to come physically into the store, or we're going to put it on the website at 11 a.m. But most stores, Best Buy, Target, Walmart, are saying like midnight Pacific time or midnight Eastern. Pre-orders are going to go live.
Better be midnight Eastern.
It was reported Eastern. It was reported.
I'm saying
Amazon.
it better be midnight Eastern.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay up till 3 a.m. to pre-order something.
I had to do that for PlayStation. I was so annoyed. Apparently Amazon is not going to carry the Switch 2 or potentially Switch 2 first party games. That's according to some reports, which is
oh shit, here we go again.
Yeah, here we go. But Nintendo and Amazon have had issues in the past with stuff like this, so that's
Amazon and PlayStation had it too for a while.
A little bit, yeah. So don't look to Amazon, but that could always change. Amazon could just be like, fuck it, we made a deal with them. Here's some pre-orders at a random time.
Is Best Buy gonna make you join like the tech thing or the?
Probably. I have to look at it. I'm trying through Target. I've had better luck with pre-orders at Target.
Angela randomly wakes up at 3:00 in the morning, so she can take care of this.
Yeah, but if it's Eastern, you'll be taking care of it. Yeah. So the big thing that came out of this is no price increase for the consoles, though Nintendo did say they're not ruling that out for the future. So I think the theory we had last week of they're just going to try and run through their inventory and hope tariff shit is figured out, or run through the inventory and then increase prices. But if there's a big enough demand, they can probably get away with increased pricing because the market will still buy whatever Nintendo sells.
Mm-hmm.
Which
is why you should pre-order.
Yeah, no, and that's why I'm considering pre-ordering now. I went from like I don't really need it to like I want it now in case I do want it.
What's the loss though? Like I mean, I guess like to your point, like I know you well enough. Like you have the fundage. Like so here, like first you have the money, and secondly, like what's the worst case scenario? You have a console for a good price before a potential price increase that you may or may not play a lot. Okay, 3 or 4 other consoles at home fall into that same category for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other worst case scenario is that you flip the thing and you make like $200 or $250 off of it. If you decide you don't want it. So like that's the part of like that little factor of it was like, yeah, like that sounds terrible, but that's like market value. Like, okay, like, but if a friend of yours that you know was in a tough time, like, oh man, I couldn't order it on the 24th, and you know, and then you're not really wanting it, and then he all of a sudden gets like something goes his way, and they get some extra cash at the end of May. Here you go, bro, you can have mine. You know, like we'll just just get it. Give me retail. Yeah. That's how most of us take care of our friends. But then if everybody's got it, and you're like, all right, you know, throw it up on Facebook Marketplace or whatever, like $200 over asking. Okay, cool. Here, like
yeah.
So
and for me, it's just I just want new shiny thing that I will use a little bit. But apparently, Switch 1 games will run slightly better by default. That was confirmed in a Q&A. So
you don't have a soon to be 10-year-old all over you going, oh, when is it going? Like, are we getting it? Like a
yeah. Yeah. No. Instead, I have a backlog that I'm looking at of like I will play you when I have a Switch 2. What did end up getting the price increase are all the Switch 2 accessories. We're talking Joy-Cons went from $89 to $95. Pro Controller went from $80 to $85. Let me change that. And then Amiibos got the biggest hike. So Amiibos are going $10 price increase. So now they're going to cost $29 to $39, which is just kind of crazy. But pretty much every accessory had a price increase of either $1, $5, or $10 across the board. So yeah, that's where they probably don't have many margins or much of a margin, and they're just going to have to hit the customers with that price increase. I imagine the consoles, because we know Nintendo sells consoles for profit. I wonder how much of a loss they're taking now with some of that stuff, or how much that ate up of their margin that was previously there.
Yeah, it ultimately depends on how much of it is truly coming directly out of China, and then how much of it is also coming out of Asia, because I know way more about tariffs now this week than I did last week, and more than I want to know. And so what I do know is that most countries don't necessarily quote me on this, but most countries in Asia outside of China are on a current 90-day pause for the tariff increases. Yeah. So there is a lot of let's get it out as fast as possible. So like if they aren't being manufactured directly in China, there might be a way for them to get some more units in here, which could potentially only carry them probably through the holiday. I would at this point in time, if the tariff situation doesn't get figured out or even still has some implications, I would see. I was actually surprised that there wasn't a U.S. price increase for the Switch in general. Like that was surprising to me. I had said that I thought there would be one. So I guess now at this point, I'm expecting one post holiday.
Yeah, I think they come January, February.
Yes.
they just.
And it'll probably be like $30.
So.
Like if I had to say anything, $30, $40 max. So we might be talking about a $490 system.
Yeah, and then the Mario Kart bundle probably just goes away.
Yes.
They'll probably have that through the holidays, and then they'll go away.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about Vietnam is where they currently have plants, so it would be a 32% tariff on it after 90 days, which would probably just be their profit margin on the current console that they're selling. So it'd just be a matter of like how much do they want to cut that in, or how much they want to cut into that. So we'll see where that works out. The one thing I have been thinking about of just like how companies are trying to rush manufacturing to other countries. I'm just thinking back to the Red Ring of Death for the 360, where Microsoft is like, we need to fucking beat PlayStation. So they pushed out the 360 a year sooner, and they did miss some Q&A checks. I don't think that's a problem for a lot of things, but I worry about that for like consoles.
Yeah, I understand where that's coming from. And again, like I think in 2025, I think that they realize that quality matters. I think
I trust Nintendo.
Yeah, I feel like most consumers understand the value increment of what they are or aren't getting. Meaning, like, I know, like if I'm buying something for a one and done, I understand what I'm getting versus like I'm buying a graphics card. Like, and like the reason why is this one more than this one? Like those days of, it's just the brand. I feel like those days of it's just the brand are kind of gone. The brands still matter, but not enough for like $100 price increase versus like it does this many GPUs, or something. I think that the individual consumer is significantly smarter to an extent. They can still fall for marketing and price manipulation very easily.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I just worry about like greedy companies on the other end in terms of just like we just need to produce what we need to produce as fast as possible.
The other side of the coin is that prices won't go back down. If tariffs go down, they will not go back down. So
I'm just worried about those growing pains. If you are like Nintendo and you're like, hey, that facility that we had in Vietnam that we were expecting to pump out, I'm just throwing fake numbers out there, like 1,000 units a day. We need that factory to pump out 5,000 a day now. And what that does to like their workflow and all
uneven
that stuff.
Stamps, weird seams, the glue bleeding through.
And that's the sort of thing, especially when you're talking about like they're not building something from the ground up. Some companies are building stuff up from the ground up. We're talking about them going to whatever factory they already own. It's already set up for a certain amount of things, and it being like more.
Yeah.
And I just worry about like what could become of that.
Yeah.
We might get some wild amiibos coming from Nintendo with some of those paint jobs.
Zelda with a Mario arm.
Yeah, it's going to make the collector's market like so much more interesting. But yeah, I will probably. So what I'll probably do is like tomorrow night, it'll be 11 p.m. for me when Target and Walmart go up.
Yeah.
I will try, but I'm not stressing over it. I'm not going to be like refreshing, Wario 64 all night like I did for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. I will probably check it once or twice, and then if I don't see it, I'm like, whatever. I will move on with my life and just, lie to myself that, I don't want it or don't need it. But yeah, I will probably pre-order it. I'm gonna go for the Mario World bundle, the Mario Kart bundle, just because
Same.
it just
Yeah.
financially makes sense, and I want a Switch game right away, but I don't want to pay $80
Yep.
for Mario Kart, so I want the bundle.
Yeah.
Are you doing that bundle?
Yeah, the same
Or
bundle.
just
Yeah,
whatever you can get?
the bundle. Like I'll try for the bundle first, and then I'll accept the I'll accept if I can't get the bundle, and then like Mario Party, I'm sorry, Mario Kart would be more of just like it just makes sense to get. I don't really think that Owen's a huge Mario Kart fan, but it doesn't mean that the 9-year-old Owen versus the 6 or 7-year-old Owen, like that might change.
Yeah.
So like we'll have to kind of see from that standpoint. I could see myself like Mario Kart's kind of one of those games where I could see myself playing it for a month or 6 weeks, having a good time with it, and then putting it away, and then randomly playing it, like if I, like if I had friends over or something like that. But then at that point in time,
it's a good holiday game.
Yeah, at that point, there's like more controllers you have to get and the cost, and it's just like ugh.
$95 for 2 Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
It's not great. No, it does kind of kill the accessory stuff, but I'm just going to. It took a while before I started to buy accessories for my Switch.
Do you know? So I've seen advertisements about Switch trade-ins for GameStop. I'm not a huge advocate of trading stuff in anymore, mostly because I buy digital. However, I have a Switch Lite and a Switch. I think I have an OLED Switch, I believe. So in terms of like, how does that typically work? Like, do you trade it in the day the Switch 2 comes out? Do you have to trade it in beforehand?
I want to say you have to trade it in beforehand, and they just apply it to your pre-order for the Switch console, Switch 2.
So I'm not sure if I'm 100% ready to get. I guess it is about to be May, and it would only be like
month,
6 weeks. Yeah. So that's like if I saw like $175 or $200 for a Switch OLED, like that's a pretty significant proposition, especially with the backwards compatibility.
Yeah, so Switch 2 pre-orders, you'll get $175 for your OLED, $125 for the standard, and then $100 for the Switch Lite.
Yeah, I don't think that the $100 for the Switch Lite is enough for me to part with the Switch Lite. Partially because that is like essentially Owen's main thing. But I guess like as I'm verbalizing it right now, I could go without my Switch for 6 weeks to save $175 on the Switch 2. And and just because like what am I going to do with the Switch 1 after I get the Switch 2? Like this is
I mean, you can use it to play, multiplayer games without having to, like they did do that sharing thing that could come in handy,
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I didn't think
save
about that,
you money on controllers because they're so damn
potentially,
expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's at least that. I have that OG one for $125, and I would maybe consider trading that in because mine is a near launch. I think I got like 2-3 months after launch, so it's kind of up there in age. And I can also go 6 weeks without it because I honestly haven't used it in like 3 weeks.
Tangibly, I'm not a huge fan of GameStop and how they treat their employees and treat their workers, but dollars are dollars, especially in this current economic state.
Basically, yeah. But that is all I have for the news. I'll probably pre-order the Switch if it's available.
All right, so we're gonna jump into playing and watching, and unfortunately, mine is non-existent. Easter, a couple things going on at work. Just finishing up basketball season, watching the Pistons in the playoffs. Just life. Like this last week to 10 days has just been chaotic. Angela and I have not gotten back to Split Fiction. It's just I'm in that weird spot again. Like I said, I want to download and play South of Midnight, and I just like I close tomorrow, and I'm like, I don't know what time I'm gonna get out of bed, and I'm off Thursday, and I might have to go see my mom, and there's a lot of moving parts, and I haven't even watched Last of Us Part 2 or Last of Us Episode 2, Season 2, Episode 2. That's hard. And I'm seeing some rumbling on social media that I'm like, okay, we got to get this done, and I thought I'd get home today.
One of the greatest hours of television I've seen since like Game of Thrones season 3, Breaking Bad season 4, like
Okay.
one of the best episodes. Like
Yeah.
the changes they've made to it were fantastic. The scale was something I wasn't expecting for fucking episode 2.
Yeah.
This felt like this would have been a season finale, and they just drop it in the second week. It's wild.
So I definitely think Michael and I will do some separate content for Last of Us season 2, like we did.
Yeah,
for,
we did one
for the
for
season
the first
1.
season.
Yeah. So I think this one's scheduled for 6 or 7 episodes.
7 episodes.
7 episodes. Okay. I feel genuinely terrible that I'm behind on it. However, even when we talk about it, we try not to spoil other people in general. So I just don't have a valid reason. I'm just fucking tired. Like this whole week has just been exhausting and long. So.
Oh no, it's understandable. And also it was weird, like WrestleMania was this past weekend.
Yeah.
So
2 days in
Easter,
Vegas. Yep.
Yeah, 2 days.
One of them
Saturday,
being Easter,
Sunday.
WrestleMania on Easter. I think that's a
And I was
little
gonna say,
weird.
like
So
I had to go to Easter dinner at my parents. And it was just one of those. It's funny, Sarah's in the chat being like, Oblivion Remastered is gorgeous so far. She's super into Oblivion.
yeah.
Like my mom had been like, hey, you're coming over for Easter, and I'm like, yeah, sure, sounds good. And then I realized, like, oh shit,
We're gonna do dinner at noon, right? So I'm home by 4. Like,
no, it was dinner at 4:30, and it was like 7 o'clock. I'm like, okay, I can miss the first hour of the last night of WrestleMania, no big deal. And then I'm just like eating dinner, and I'm watching WrestleMania afterwards. Like I get home, miss the first hour, it's like 7:30, and then I'm like, fuck. The Last of Us episode 2 is tonight as well.
And like ours was like the opposite. Like so, like Sunday we did some Easter with family as well, and like we come home and she's like, I'm gassed. And she's like, I can't watch that, because then she's like, are they going to do it this soon? Are they going to? Are they not going to? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, nope, can't do it. And then Monday night happened, and I lost power at work. I was supposed to get off work at 5, and I lost power, and I was there till 8 until about 8 o'clock. And then by then I had already worked like my first time with Harbor Freight, like working like 12 hours, 13 hours in a day. I don't do it in a long time. I was just ripped. And then I worked today and didn't get home until like 6:30, 7 o'clock. And she had a commitment tonight, and then we're recording. So it's just like, she even like debated, like before she left for her commitment, she's like, do I miss this commitment and so we can watch the show so you can talk about it? And I'm like, no. Like,
yeah. I would say, Dave, you need to watch.
I know.
It as soon as
I've already
possible.
seen some Facebook posts and some people that haven't played the game, and and they're just like, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, and like she's like, why are you worried about spoilers? You know what happens? Yeah, but I don't know exactly what happens and how it happens.
And I think they changed enough, but it's so crazy how many shot for shot things they recreated in the show, but they also just owned it and added so many good supplemental things to the show.
Yeah, I mean, my only dig and only excuse I have sort of right now and to poke at you is like, my Pistons won a playoff game for the first time since 2008.
Oh yeah. But I'm also the one a couple months ago when I was like, oh, I bought 2K, and you're like, oh, what team you're playing? And I'm like, the Pistons, because they're really fucking good.
There's a part of me, there's a small part of me, and I have to pay more attention to see if it would even be a potential next round matchup. I have a good friend of mine that has Indiana Pacers season tickets. So if there's a potential for the Pistons to play the Pacers, I think I might be able to squeeze some tickets out of them, and maybe somehow Angela and I can make a trip to and from Indianapolis.
No, unfortunately, they would play most likely Boston or Orlando, but it'll be Boston.
Because the low because the lowest seed plays Don't they reseed or no? Or is it bracketed?
It's bracketed.
So no matter what, like they don't reseed.
Yeah,
they don't. Okay.
Yeah. So they would end up, I believe, going against Boston.
Okay.
And the NBA will do whatever they can to prevent a Eastern Conference Finals of the Pacers and Pistons.
Yep.
They will do whatever they fucking can to make sure that does not happen. But yeah. Was there anything else?
No, that's
that you
it.
played?
So you can kind of go do your wrestling minute. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just, again, with The Last of Us, fantastic. This isn't spoiling anything for those that played the game or even watched the show. But somehow they found a way to make Abby even more hateable in like the best way possible. I want to hear, like, you send me a Discord message when you see it, like when
Okay.
you watch the episode. It's just they just found a way to where, like, I was so frustrated with Abby before shit even went down.
I'm with you. Like I don't know. I've seen some stuff on like little tidbits on social media that I kind of like flick my finger up faster. I'm like, nope. And then and I'll let you go in a second too. But
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about my schedule. Like I gotta figure this out because I mean maybe it'll be like Angela gets home from work at like 2:30 one day or 3 o'clock on Thursday because I close at work tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow night when I get home from work, but I don't know if at 9:15 or 9:30 at night she's gonna ready to have her anxiety ramped up like that. And then selfishly Thursday, again I'm off, and then there's a potential early or late afternoon, but then like the NFL draft is Thursday night and the Pistons playoff game is Thursday night.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I might not be able to watch this until Friday or Saturday. And at that point in time, I feel like the intelligent thing to do is just watch it right
Back to
before
back.
right before the next Sunday night and watch the next one.
Yeah, no, it's just funny though, because like
This is
and
this
I'm
is
not
what goes on in my
saying-
head every day
Yeah.
with like video games and crap like this. Like I can't figure out a way to get like
to
on
get
a straight
that
line. So
that there's too many choices
Yeah.
paralysis syndrome. No, but and when I say like they made Abby so much more hateable, I'm not saying anything about the actress or anything like that. The actress is actually really fucking good in this episode. She won me over this episode. But I'm talking about like character actions in this episode. I was just like, man,
yeah. Oh,
People in
I
the
had
game-
like I have friends that like are like, oh, I can't, like they watched episode 1 and they went on a little social media tangent like, oh, like, I hate Ellie, or like what she's turned into. I'm like, the first question is, did you play the games? And they're like, nope. I'm like, buckle up. I'm like, just
Yep.
strap in. Like,
yeah, it's gonna be good. Yeah, no, but just like the character stuff with Abby, I just feel like the actress is wonderful. I do like the the justification of just like, hey, why she isn't buff Abby.
Yeah.
But like the stuff the character does was just like one of those things where halfway through the episode, I'm like, I fucking can't wait for Ellie to punch this girl in the mouth, because it just kind of gets escalated pretty fast and then
Nice.
doesn't stop. But yeah, WrestleMania 2 nights was Saturday, Sunday. It sounds like a lot of wrestling, but it's way better than when they would do 6 to 8 hour shows. Breaking them into 3 hour chunks each night is so much easier to watch. First night was fantastic from like start to end. Second night started off really hot, and then it kind of just felt like, okay, because you had 2 nights, you added stuff that you didn't need to do, and it had probably one of the most disappointing main events ever. Like, just horrible booking. It felt like Vince McMahon like was in charge again. It was so bad. The John Cena Cody Rhodes thing just fell apart. They included Travis Scott again, and that just made things just worse. It's been a while since WWE's put on a show that like since Triple H has been in charge for the last like year, 2 years, usually you leave, or you end the show, that episode of a pay-per-view, and you're pretty happy with where things go, like where they went and where they could go. And then this year it was just like the most thud ending of a WrestleMania that I hadn't seen since like Vince McMahon was running it. So super disappointed with how it ended. The night 1 was perfect. Night 2 was just kind of a mess.
did Cena retire?
He is retiring. He basically announced this will be his last year of wrestling, and
Okay.
then they're doing his farewell thing. Of course, they're doing his on the top.
Oh, that when I
Wow.
asked that either. So, oh boy.
Okay, Discord froze for a
Yeah,
second. Okay, what was that?
No, I said I didn't know that he had won the title when I asked that question. I think I was just hearing about Cena's retirement.
Oh yeah. No, he just he basically announced in January that it was going to be his last year.
Okay.
So yeah, he's just doing the farewell tour. He's doing really good heel work because he turned heel as well, which is something no one thought he would do. It's just they found the shittiest way possible to put the belt on him, and Curry put heat between Triple H and The Rock, and The Rock has like ruined like so much since he's become like a board member, like a legit board member. It's not like story board member. It's like he's actually a board member.
Like ruined in a bad way, ruined?
Yes. It's basically like he self-inserts himself every couple weeks, and there's no story justification or payoff every time he does it.
Was
It's
this
just like he's available.
was this part of like the UFL XFL merger thing too? Like he got like on the board of like WWE.
Dude,
somehow?
he got the board. He bought the XFL shortly after, and
Like-
then he got his name rights back. Like I don't know what he has on them
Yeah.
blackmail wise, but it feels like he has stuff on
Like
them.
we need like another season of Young Rock to find out what he has on him. Like
Yeah,
that
maybe
terrible
he's just
show.
on a grudge because wrestling fans didn't watch Young Rock, so he's just torturing us now
like,
with
because
this.
like
But
I'm
no.
like you know like Curry's asking like the like beef between Triple H and The Rock. I'm like, what is this 1997?
And you know what? It might as well be. They might have some like residual like beef that's going on from
Let's
back
say like
then.
Hunter Hearst Helmsley cannot wrestle anymore, right? Like his neck is
No, his heart
jacked.
exploded.
Yeah,
no, his heart exploded.
okay.
Like literally, his heart exploded. Yeah, he can't wrestle anymore, and he's doing a really good job at booking. And then The Rock has been self-inserting because he can.
Yeah, isn't he credited? Isn't Triple H credited with like the young development of younger wrestlers?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and now The Rock comes back every like month or so and is just like, I want 30 minutes to talk,
Yeah.
but I can't talk anymore because I'm not good at this anymore because
Yeah.
like I'm not like
I'm
The Rock was
old.
like interesting.
I
Yeah, I'm
can't-
old and I'm out of touch because I'm a bajillionaire.
Yeah, I'm not.
So
it's
one
not 25
cares.
years ago.
Yeah. So that was WrestleMania. In terms of playing, I still dabble with Rivals Season 2. Fuck, man. Going so they drop you 10 levels from where you were last
Yeah,
season.
you had
to
said
this-
you weren't sure what was going to happen. Yeah, okay.
I got dropped down to silver. I was diamond. Now I'm silver. It is hell. No one wants to play healer in there. Everyone wants to be Spider-Man. It is a nightmare. I'm in gold now, but it was a fucking fight to get the gold.
And you sparked it, you remembered it, and like you talking a little bit about marathon, but in general of like figuring out the Bungie cadence that we were now talking about.
Mhm.
Immediately after, within less than a week after the marathon debut, they're like, okay, here's in May 6th, like here's our new content for Destiny that's coming this summer. Like here's our reveal event, here's our teaser trailer. So like these two things are going to look like legitimately run concurrently. Like it's you know, I'll be waiting with it's called like Edge of Fate. And this is like supposed to be like a new content model for them. So I'll be very curious how this and Marathon are kind of lining up, because since the Marathon reveal, there's been a little bit of conversation from some of the Marathon directors of like, oh, like what is your goal for onboarding Destiny 2 players? And they're like, to not.
Yeah.
Like,
You remember in like Infinity War or Endgame where Thanos is like, he had the little knife and he was showing like baby
Yeah.
Gamora like perfectly balanced, I feel like that is what like Pete Parsons, if he's still in charge at Bungie, is doing right now. Where one end is Destiny 2
we don't know
and
if
one end is
Parsons in charge
Marathon.
in it, yeah.
Yeah.
And it
and
potentially might be it, but like for those people that wanted like super high end competitive Destiny Crucible, go play Marathon. For people that want a great fun game of like space magic and having a bunch of fun and shooting your gun at big aliens, come play Destiny.
It will be funny though if like in like 6 months, Marathon's rolling and then people are like, hey, when are you going to update Crucible? And they're like, we're fucking not.
Right.
Because they can't, because everyone's
Yeah.
working on Marathon.
Yep.
I feel like the Destiny community would be like, okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
stop putting effort into
Yep.
Crucible and put effort into the stuff we care about. So just doing that, I am picking up Expedition 33 this weekend. Oblivion's being played right now. I'm gonna probably hop on Oblivion at some point and start my own character. Bunch of random stuff in the works. I'm on call this weekend in my real life job, so I can't leave my house really.
Yep.
So I'm gonna do something. I have an arcade machine that's in my garage that I need to try and fix. I think I know what's wrong with it, but it's gonna take some time. But it's nice out, so I can actually work on it in the garage.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome.
God, I sound bougie. I'm like, I have an arcade machine. My
a-
company was gonna throw it out, and
And
I
a
took it.
garage.
And a garage. I don't have a car.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I wasn't gonna say that, but I was thinking
yeah,
it.
yeah.
so-
I don't have a car, but I have an arcade machine in my garage.
So I have an extended storage facility.
That's basically what it is. It's
Yeah.
just not climate controlled.
I have
but-
cars, and my garage is still an extended storage facility.
yeah, yeah.
I have
So,
enough. I have a
yeah.
garage to fit 2 cars, and I don't have either one of them in there.
Mine's a 2.5 car garage. Like
Damn.
when they told us about the house, they were just like, "Oh, you can. It's a 2.5 car garage," and I was just like, "I don't fucking care."
Dude, you could probably rent those parking spaces out and pay for your mortgage.
Literally, my brother, who is like a mechanic, was
Yeah.
just like, "Hey, I got a guy who needs to store some cars," and I'm just like, "I don't want to deal with that."
Yeah,
like
$1,000 a month, bro. Like,
It's tempting. It's tempting. But maybe if I need to, I'll do that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
even then, I'm just like, I don't want to go through all that.
All right,
But
so
I
yeah.
the options on the table.
Yeah, this is going to be a super short show. So like there's no questions. We didn't ask for them. You didn't send them. So it's a 50-50 your fault. Send not your fault, Michael, as in the listener's fault, like the one that's listening to it. It's, so please consider sending them #AskDigitalDays. You can post them on Blue Sky. You can post them on Twitter or X, whatever the hell you want to call it. You can put them in Facebook. You can put them in Discord. There's a specific spot in Discord for you to put them. So please consider asking them.
If you do it in Facebook, tag Dave in the question because I don't check Facebook.
Hell, at this point, tag Angela.
Just tag a hunt, and it'll find its way here.
So, yeah, and we would love to have the questions in the show. So they help to offset, like if we like when I have a week like I have where I haven't really done anything. So, those are always good. They sometimes spark good debates, and hell, sometimes they even spark potentially longer debates that turn into different episodes in general. So, please, 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 please consider sending questions. They don't have to be video game related. They can be video game related. They're not required. Just they're always good to have fun with the community. So you can send those at Digital Days Pod on Twitter. What is it on Blue Sky?
Digital Days Gaming. That's
Okay.
the full thing on Blue
So
Sky.
at Digital Days Gaming. Michael's is at the first name JC, I believe, on Blue Sky and
Both of
Twitter.
Yep.
I am at Good Dave Hunt on Blue Sky and Twitter. So you can definitely check those out. There's been some interesting support on Blue Sky. I need to get that kind of more into my routine. It's actually like a little cleaner right now too as I scroll through and go through stuff because I haven't followed as many random stuff and all that other crap. So I feel like it's a little bit more controlled. Facebook group is still there. Discord server is there. Obviously, Discord is the main focal point for our community as we try to use that as much as we can. And Patreon is there as well. Patreon.com/DigitalDaysGaming. Other than that, I hope everyone has a great week. I hope everyone had a great Easter if you celebrated it. And we'll talk to y'all later. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya. All right.
Under an hour. That's rare.
The clock on my computer's run and says it's 10 o'clock, and I'm just like, oh, whoa, shit! I kept Dave up to 11.
Yeah, no, it's only 10:12 for me. So
Yep.
So.
I don't know why my Windows clock has broken.
There is quite a few of you hanging out a little bit here. Who's here? Curry's still here. Tom, okay. And maybe not as much as I thought. Okay. That's weird. That number doesn't seem to match, but whatever.
It happens sometimes.
All right. For those of you hanging out on the stream, we appreciate you popping into chat and saying some things. Have a great night. Talk to y'all later.